St. James says this about our inner conflicts. You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly. Now, don't misunderstand that word, wrongly. That's not a moral, that word is not said to bring us into some kind of moral inventory, but wrongly in terms of you're looking for the wrong thing. You know, you need a hammer and somebody hands you a wrench, and you ask for a wrench, I should say. The reason we do that, notice St. James says, is because we're trying to get what we want as defined by what pleases us, pleasure. But we all know that it's not pleasure that gives us the greatest joy, it's actually sacrifice and work. Work not in order to gain money or success, but work in order to gain pride and significance. So we have to make some moral value adjustments here so that what we ask God for will be in keeping with what God intends for us, our preferred future. So let's take a look at this. We're going to change our desire now from success to significance. We don't want just success. You can have all kinds of stuff and be very, very unhappy. We all know many people like that. But there are no significant people who are unhappy. So our desire, that passion, will be to inspire others, which will inspire ourselves. Let's see what our intention, what guides our intention, what guides our passion in the things that we ask for God. Who are the people who are most content and happy? So let's do a little quiz here. The percentage of Americans calling themselves very happy reached its highest point in what year? What year do you think? 57, 67, 77, or 87? Let's see. You probably weren't that surprised. 1957. The highest percentage of Americans identified as being very happy. That's why you hear people talk about the good old days. But what were the good old days like? Well, for one thing, people worked more. People were together more. And people had less things to take care of. Are those important factors? They are. Because what is in our heart's desire really comes from our values. And we can quite confidently say that in 1957, family and friends were valued over Facebook. How much of an average American's lifetime will be spent on average watching television commercials? We'll just start with television commercials. What do you think? 6 months, 3 months, a year, or 1.5 years? I'm talking about 24/7, 365, that much time. Let's see. 6 months, no. 3 months, no. 1.5, no. An entire year. Now ask yourself, what kind of influence are those commercials exercising on your self-image, on your self-esteem, and whether you have a conflicted image between who you are and what you perceive you should be. That's what commercials like to do, to tell you what you should be if you want to be happy. Now, in our day, add in, we're just talking here about TV, but add in all the other influences of the screens and the images that appear on them in our lives. And conflict between what we see and what we perceive ourselves to be becomes quite apparent. And that conflict is animated every time you see someone on a screen that you want to be, but aren't. Well, the Americans who voluntarily cut back their consumption, what percentage said in 1995 that they are happier as a result of cutting back on consuming things to try to satisfy their desire to be content and happy? 29, 42, 67, or 86? What do you think? Not 67. Is it 29 or 86? 86%. 86% of people who voluntarily cut back, made a decision to cut back on their consumption, said they were happier. Said that they were better off. What does that mean? Well, it means what St. James is trying to tell us here. You ask and don't receive because you're asking for the wrong stuff. You're looking in the wrong places to find what you really need. In order to spend what you get on your pleasures. So it's not about pleasure. It's not about the flesh, fleshly desires, fun, entertainment, just all that stuff. But it's about spiritual satisfaction, which leads to spiritual significance. So, if we're going to achieve spiritual change, then we have to make some core spiritual value changes. Do what those 86 or 87% of Americans did who felt better. Voluntarily change what we're looking for from life. A core value, instead of asking God for affluence or living your life toward affluence, live your life toward influence. Which means a change from wanting to be successful to wanting to be significant in someone's life. Someone who looks up to you. And finally, from gathering information to try to make things better, to being changed by inspiration. The inspiration of God that comes in all kinds of forms.